All right, welcome everybody. This is Robbie Cornelius, and this is the podcast here where we are talking to powerful entrepreneurs who are here to change the world. Okay, changing the world, that's what it's about, because when you put yourself out there in a real, raw, and authentic way, you inspire other people. You plant seeds in other people's minds and you inspire those people. And because of their actions, you end up changing the world. And so I came across a very powerful individual a few months ago. And from the moment I spoke with her on the phone, I understood her purpose, her mission, and most importantly, the passion she has for what she does. So without any further ado, I'm going to welcome the one and only Angie Kearns, aka the Prosperity Queen. Welcome to the platform. Welcome to the podcast, Angie.
Thanks, Robbie. I appreciate you having me here today. I'm excited, and I love that you say powerful, because every time you say that, when you do someone, you actually give them a dose of that energy that makes them stand erect. So here I am, erect and ready to chat with you about empowering people, helping their mindset, and just actually, for me, it's really about self-love. So I want to share some of that today too.
Self-love. So let's start off right there. Self-love. For you, how important is it to love yourself? And then first and foremost, have you noticed that most people don't love themselves?
Absolutely. So it is really important to love yourself, because one, all of your perspective is going to come out of your relationship with yourself. The way that you view the world is going to be based on how you actually view yourself, but yet you'll have the fingers pointing outward, blaming everybody else, all the things that's making your life miserable or, unforgiving or whatever it is. It all stems from not loving oneself if you cannot enjoy life.
So let's talk about some of that, because like a lot of that, the inability to love ourselves, a lot of times that comes from trauma in so many different ways, whether that's physical trauma, emotional trauma, spiritual trauma. I think a lot of times it's a holistic approach. But what are some of the things that you've noticed that keeps people from like loving themselves truly?
Well, for one, the way we're raised to majority of the times is about survival. Make sure you get things in life right all the time. Say, for instance, in the Black community, the way that I was raised is you have to be independent, be able to take care of yourself, because you can't rely on anyone, which is fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
When you're in a survival mindset, as my family was, you can't afford to make a mistake. So what happens then? You're walking this intense line at all times in every area of your life. You're trying to make sure you get the right friend. You're trying to make sure you get the right partner. You're trying to make sure you get the right grade. You're trying to make sure you get the right job. You're trying to make sure you get on the right bus. You're trying to make sure you get the right car. Like, everything is just so intense because there's no room for error when you're in survival mode.
Man, that hit home on so many levels. It causes you to walk on eggshells when you're in survival mode like that.
Absolutely. And when you're raised that way, you grow up with this thing of having to do everything perfect. And so because you're imperfect yourself, you're always frustrated with yourself. You find ways to beat yourself up. It'd be body image, mental image, whatever it is. Just, we have so many different areas in which we feel imperfect, and it makes us angry. It makes us angry at ourselves. So therefore, our perspective is shaped by how we feel about ourselves. Now I'm angry at this other person that said that they didn't like my shoes. Now I'm angry at this person that said that I should have done something different. Now I'm angry at this person because they told me I can't come to the party. Just whatever. You're just anger. Everything is about you, but everybody else outside of you is causing your problem.
Correct. And I always said that if I allowed somebody to control my emotions, that's me admitting that that person has more control over me than I have over myself.
That's exactly correct.
It's like a remote control to a TV. Like, the only way somebody can turn you on and turn you off if they have the power in their hands.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
takes mastery. It takes mastery to love yourself like that, to the point to where you, like what I found, I don't know if you found this yourself, but what I found is like the more I love myself, the more I can unconditionally love other people. And then most importantly, I'm not expecting much from other people. Like if I don't love myself, then I'm expecting everything you do to fix the love that I don't have for myself. But if
Absolutely.
I right, but if I already love myself, then I'm already fulfilled, and me interacting with you is just icing on top of the cake most of the time.
Absolutely. And Robin, when you mentioned about the remote control, just imagine if that person has the power to piss you off or anger you or frustrate, whatever it is that you're giving them power to have, they also have the power to say whether or not you're going to have a happy life. And meanwhile,
100%.
you're waiting for them to turn around and tell you where your measure is, where your value is, and all that. And here they're not even thinking about you. But the whole time you're thinking they're the issue. And of course, you're at the top of their mind. They went on about their business, don't even know they offended you, bothered you, or that you're in mental bondage to them that way. You give them so much real estate in your mind, the most valuable thing you have. And yet you allow people to just sit there and relax, and they don't even know they're chilling in your brain like that.
Ooh. Hey, I got the computer screen in front of me. It's smoking right now. It's smoking right now.
I tell
You
you.
went from, I mean, you literally laid that out as clearly as humanly possible. That is so freaking true. Taking up real estate in your mind. Speaking of real estate, you're also in real estate.
I am.
What is the mindset that led you to get into the field of real estate?
Ooh, that's a good one, Robbie. So when I bought my first house here in Georgia, during that transaction, I knew nothing about real estate. I was just believing the agent that was working the transaction, and she was representing the seller. And in
Mm-hmm.
that transaction, I got the short end of the stick on some repairs and a whole lot of other things. The man was supposed to paint the walls and all this stuff that it was agreed upon was going to happen after closing.
Mm.
I just went along with it. I didn't know to demand that it happened prior to closing. And even the painter that came and he ended up spilling paint on all my hardwood floors. I mean, it was just insane. So I just really
Whoa.
got the short end of the stick in that transaction. But what I realized is that there was no one at the closing table that looked like me.
Mm.
So I decided, you know what? I'm not going to. And I heard of horror stories, but it just doesn't hit home till it hits you. And I said,
Yeah.
that's it. I was in daycare at the time. I left my daycare business to actually become more independent, not having to rely on income from parents, and they have their fluctuations in income and things like that. But I was tired of being locked into 12-hour days. And so when I got this transaction, when I went through this transaction, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go into real estate because I'm going to protect the people that look like me. I'm going to make sure
Mm.
they know just as much about that transaction as I do by the time they close on that house.
Wow. So something that ended up being a pain for you ended up inspiring you to get
Absolutely.
into this field to help other people. I love that.
Yep. It
You
became a
know,
ministry.
you said a ministry?
Yep. It became my ministry.
I love that. I freaking love that. And so real estate is no easy, like a lot of people might have a misconception about real estate agents.
Yes.
Real estate is not an easy thing to get into.
That's right.
You have to know your work. You have to know math. You have to know certain language, certain definitions. You have to know it's not easy. So let me ask you this. I know, were you a single mother at the time when you first started getting into real estate?
No, I was actually married at the time.
Okay, so being married, how did that, studying for real estate, how did that affect your um how did that affect your mindset
Hmm.
with your significant others while you were studying for real estate? Because a lot of people don't know what it takes to be an entrepreneur. They don't
Right.
understand the strength that you have to juggle a family and friends and all of these different things. How did that affect you at that time?
Well, you know what? It was interesting. I didn't know that I took an action of self-love, meaning, you know what? Everybody else is going to have to take the back seat while I turn around and improve myself. So
Ooh.
my husband, I actually turned my daycare center into a group daycare home at this point, and which is why I
Mm.
purchased the property to begin with, is to create a group daycare home. And so my husband would go off to work, and by the time he come home at 6 o'clock, he knew it was his shift to watch the kids.
Mm.
So when he watched the kids, I went about a mile away over to my cousin's house. I had taken my desktop computer there, and I was studying online to become a real estate agent at that point. So studying for my test. When he got home at 6:30, I had dinner prepared and all that. I would go to her house from like 7 until midnight and study. So I was studying the whole time. The family had to sacrifice. They had to do without me for a while. So I actually didn't pass the test on the first time. So it took
Yeah.
giving up social life, family. It took passing the baton to my husband and try to prep him as much as possible. But I was operating on no sleep, because then I was back up again at 6 a.m. to try to do another 12-hour shift with kids and their parents and everything that it took. And I was a one-man band at that time in my group daycare home.
Dang. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like everybody has this luxurious image in their mind of what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That is after you've gone through the sleepless nights. That's after you've gone through sacrificing family time,
Yep.
sacrificing friendships, sacrificing all of these things. That's after the fact. When you see someone pull up in a nice car, or when you see someone with a nice home, that's after the fact.
Yes.
And today, I think so many people, because of social media, they can see your end result and think that they want to just have your end result without knowing what it took for you to get there. So I'm so happy that you shared that.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, that's very powerful, because I didn't even know that about you, and I have talked to you multiple times, and we've had really good conversations. But sharing
Mhm.
that even gave me a deeper glimpse into what it took for you to become the prosperity queen.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so
And
you
the
was
study is just the first part of it. Because
wow.
the studying is just the practical, the law, just to make sure you know that once you get out there, how not to break the law. But it is not how you close a deal. It is not how you obtain your clients. It has absolutely nothing to do with a transaction in itself, just all the laws
Mm,
behind it, just all the understanding of what you can and cannot do and what your responsibilities are and how to calculate and things like that, knowing the terms that some majority of them you don't ever even use once you're out there in the streets with your
wow.
client.
Talk about what can a person do to separate themselves from other agents in the real estate game?
Oh, it's all about education. And
Okay.
educate, how you can best educate your client without confusing them, and then how you can also give your client the best leverage. So
Mm,
it's important to know what your niche is. My niche was, of course, saving my Black folks. That's how I felt about it. It didn't matter what price level or anything like that. It was all about education. So I meet them where they are, and I understand exactly what they're going through by asking them certain questions. And it's really important to ask certain questions up front. And this is where agents go wrong. I asked them, first of all, that once I get the understanding, I asked them, are they paying cash or are they financing? I never assume that everybody's going to do a mortgage. And it's
that's right.
offensive. It's offensive to people who have cash that you say, so when are you going to get a loan? And if they're so proud of how they got that cash, they get offended, like, loan? Oh, I'm paying cash. I mean, they'll be.
Exactly. I'm a
So
cash man myself, so I definitely resonate with that. I'm like, what the heck? No, don't even
I ain't
talk
playing these games with you.
to
Cash. Yep. So I asked them that. And then instead of like pinning them down and trying to ask them, so how soon do you want to close or anything like that? Because now you seem like you're pushing your agenda. Oh, you only worried about me closing.
closing.
When do you want to close?
Exactly.
I tell them not to ask that question. I say, ask them, how soon do you see yourself in your home?
Mm.
It's different. It's gentler. Now you're aligning with what their vision is and not what your mission is. You know what I mean? So, and again, I was about service. I was in my ministry, so I was never chasing a dollar. I never had to chase a dollar. The money came to me because of how I served my customer.
That is phenomenal.
Yep. And then a lot of agents, new and seasoned, they don't ask up front, are you the only one making a decision or there's other parties involved?
That's a really great question.
Yep. They'll end up spending all these hours with this person and say, oh, I forgot. No, I can't sign a contract yet because my dad, who's an attorney, he's da 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 da. And then you find out all this information that would have helped you early on because you could have included them in the search and actually put the dad in on the emails and things like that. So it's a lot of things up front that you need to learn so that you could be fast, furious, and on top of your game and serving your client efficiently.
Fast, furious, on top of your game, and serving your client efficiently. Oh, write that down. That's powerful. So powerful. See, this is why I'm bringing people on like Angie, because she knows her stuff. She knows her stuff because she knows herself. You talked about the importance of serving your customer. In your opinion, what are some key things a real estate agent can do to better serve their customer more than anybody else in their field?
Well, for one, you have to be a good listener. You got to hear what they're telling you, not what you think they said.
Ooh.
So, yep, you got to hear what they're telling you and not what you think or believe they said. So you got to play it back to them, what I believe I heard you said. Okay, Robbie, so what I heard you say was you had contractors at your house today. And what I heard you say was that you're getting your patio redone.
Yes.
Not just the front and the back, which brings me to a question. Was there something wrong with the patio that you currently had, or you just expanded? Let's get further understanding as to why they're doing
it. Instead of assuming that there was something wrong, you asked the question.
Yes.
I love that.
Yep. And then another question to ask, this is really important too. Robbie, I'm so excited that you are buying this patio, getting your patio, but of course, buying a house. I'm excited for you that you're ready to make your transaction, but I'm curious, what makes you do it now and not next year or 2 years ago?
Whoa, really powerful question.
What's been the deciding factor? So now you really believe that I'm into you and what you have going on, and I'm lining up with your vision. You know what I mean? Instead of, I'm trying to make a sale. That's where the value comes in.
Because you know what I was just thinking when you said that? If somebody asked me those questions, even if I wasn't ready to make a buying decision now, I now know who I want to do business with when I'm ready to make a buying decision.
There you go.
That's it, because I'm like, Angie asked about me. She didn't ask about how much money I got. Do I have lenders already? She's not asking those questions that insinuate she's only in it for the sale.
That's exactly correct.
And it makes me ponder, how is Angie even doing business right now? Because she's not even trying to sell me anything, right? And it makes you want to work with a person like that because they're in business, but you feel like they don't see you as just another transaction.
That's right. That's right.
I love that. I love that. That's phenomenal.
And sometimes, it gets to a place where after I finish asking all these questions, and this is another era of a real estate salesperson, is that the buyer would then say, okay, well, I'm ready to see these houses. I'm ready. I'm ready to go look at some things or what have you. Can I showed you this one property? I'm going to text it to you right now. Can you show me that property? And I say, I would be happy to show you that property, but first we need to get you financially empowered. So, Robbie, you said you were paying cash. What I would need from you is a proof of funds of the amount that you wish to purchase. Are you able to send that to me today or tomorrow?
How would you like it?
How would I like it? You can email it, which would be amazing. Or if text is better for you, you can text it. Either way, I'll convert it over to an email file. And the purpose of that is I need to make sure I'm taking qualified buyers into these properties because that's the respect and honor code that we have in our real estate industry.
Woo. You just made me feel confident about doing business with you as a buyer. But now I also know that if I'm in a position of selling, I also want to do business with you because you're going to make sure that the people you're bringing into my home are qualified to even be here in the first place.
Absolutely. Yep. And I would turn the tables. I said, and they'd say, okay, I want a low ball. Okay, well, and that's fine. I'll write up anything that you ask me to write up. But just as you're prepared to hear a yes, I want to get you to prepare to hear a no as well. But no doesn't mean that we're not going to have a transaction. It means that we have to turn around and negotiate some other things that might be important to you or them.
Woo. You know what you're doing right now?
What's that?
See, people always think about, if they're a buyer, they're probably all, that's the only transaction that I'm going to be doing with this person.
Mm-hmm.
But that person that is a buyer today might turn around and be a seller tomorrow.
Always.
So now what you just did is even in your interaction with them as a buyer, you just also let them know that you also care about what's in it for the seller, because you said, let's see if we can come to a decision that would be good for you and them. I love that.
That's right.
Because you're coming from a win-win-win mindset.
Everybody can win and have an amazing experience and be glad when they walk away from that closing table. And that's what I'm about.
Oh my goodness. I'm about that. I'm all about making it to where everybody in this world can win. Yes. You mentioned that you didn't pass the test the first time you took it. Yes. So many people will give up, if they don't do it the first time, the first however many times. I'm one of these individuals that I've always been like this, man. I'm never going to fail because I'm never going to quit.
That's right.
That's been my whole mindset. I don't care if it takes me 100 times to do it. I'm going to do it 100 times. I'm going to do it 110 times. Because I'm only doing it because I'm passionate about it anyway. If I quit, that's insinuating that I was never really passionate about it.
That's true.
So with you, what gave you that motivation to get up and go again and take that test again?
Well, because I knew I could do it, and I was only off a couple percent. But my thing is, if somebody else did it, I know I could do it. Yes. Like, okay, they did something different than me, or their brain is wired differently than me. Okay, this is my thing now, because now I had actually 19 licenses, but I have 18 now, right? So the way that I did it was I started saying, you know what, let me go take a look at the test first. Just go out there, take the test. And then that way I knew what to study. So I started streamlining my process. Yep, let me go check.
That's visionary thinking right there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's visionary thinking. Let me go ahead and do it. That way I'll know what I need to study. That's exactly. Reverse engineering. You know what I call that? I call that starting at the bank.
I like that. That's right. Yeah.
Let me start at the bank and start at the bank and then walk myself backwards and ask myself, what led to me coming to this bank in the first place?
That's right. That's right.
Start with the end in mind. I love that.
Yep.
I love that. I can study books about fitness all day long, 24 hours a day. Or, and hype myself up about, oh man, when I start working out, I know what to do. I know what to eat. I know what forms to have when I'm working out. Or I can just go sign up for a gym and study as I'm working out and adjust my strategy as I'm learning more. And I think now, so many people that I've coached over the years want to get all the information, retain it, right? And then go take action on the information.
Yeah.
And by the time you do that, you have analysis paralysis because,
oh yeah,
my whole thing is I'm going to learn what I need to learn when I need to learn it.
That's right.
And I love that, what you just said. So you've been
Robbie, when you think about working out, so the other day you showed the class how you can actually your mind controls everything, right? as far as your being goes. And you showed us how you can actually make yourself have goosebumps. I sat there and watched you have that inward experience, how you went in and you took control over your body and you told your body what it needed to do.
Correct.
So this week when I was working out and doing my cardio, which I do 140 minutes of cardio because that's actually what impacts my body greatly, is when I go above and beyond and just keep moving it. I even start along with it or what have you. But what I started doing was focusing on the area that bothers me most, which is the abdomen, my core. So I started saying, okay, now while I'm working out, I went inside and I was like, abdomen, burn fat. I need you to burn fat, heat up and burn fat, heat up and burn fat.
Yes.
And that's actually what I've been doing. And I'm going to continue to do that. And you already know it works, right? Because we don't even have to try it to see if it works. I know it works.
Exactly.
So that's where I am on that.
Exactly. Sometimes we're taking the right action, but our minds are focused on the wrong thing.
There you go. That's so true.
I can work out I had the same thing with my abs. So when I first started working out, I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I realized one day in the gym, I'm consciously avoiding focusing on the one thing that I need to focus on, and it's my abdominal area.
Okay.
And so that's when I started saying, okay, well, the same thing I apply to every area of my life is also what I need to apply to the gym. Let me focus. I thought, so a lot of times people think that, if I just go through the motion, I'll get the results. Yeah, you'll get some results. But if you go through the motions consciously and consciously focused, that's when you're gonna do quantum leaps in life, in business, in the gym, and everything.
That's right. Quantum leap. Love that.
Quantum leap. So, Angie, you're one of the most impactful speakers that I've had the privilege of coming across. Not just when you're presenting to other people, but when you are just having a normal conversation. Your energy is on fire. You are mission driven. And what is the importance of being mission driven for you? You talked about turning your real estate career into a ministry where you were driven by purpose.
Yep.
What is the importance of having a purpose for you, and how has it affected your journey up until this point?
That's a great question, Robbie, and I'm going to answer it differently than anybody probably have ever answered a question like this. I'm going to answer it by saying what the impact is if you're not mission driven. So after I launched the book in June, I was exhausted because I poured all of me into it. And
what's the name of this book?
And the book is Thriving, Not Just Surviving. It's about overcoming the pressures of succeeding in America as a Black woman.
Amazing. Amazing.
And so I threw all my energy into it. And then, I just told myself, take a breather, which is fine. So it's fine to relax or take a rest. But I ended up resting for about a week or so. And so the impact of not having a mission is that I fell into a dark space mentally. And I didn't know I was there until I was actually coming out of it. And then I was able to recognize certain behaviors. And I said, oh, shoot, I'm depressed. And because the way that I knew that at that moment I was depressed, because I was feeling like I was failing. I had a week of and I felt like I was failing. Why did I feel like I was failing? Because I was off my mission.
Wow. Very true. You just highlighted something very important. A lot of people are depressed in our country. A lot of people. But you just highlighted that perhaps the reason why you are depressed is because you don't have a mission.
Oh, yeah.
When people come to me and they ask me, how do I find out my purpose? Here's what I always say. If you really don't know your purpose, and this might sound crazy, people disagree with it, but I say, just make up a purpose. In the act of making up a purpose, you give yourself a purpose. And if you find out that is not your purpose, you stop doing that and you make up another purpose.
That's
and then
right.
you keep making up purposes until you find the purpose that inspires you to take action every single day. And just by doing that, you don't have time to sit around and be depressed, because a lot of times when we're depressed, we're just soaking in our own sorrow. We're making it more about us. Oh, they're not, they don't see my worth, or they don't see my vision, or they're not supporting me. When I was depressed, I was depressed for, I say, 27 years. I
Yeah,
went through 27 years of just depression because of my upbringing.
that's right.
Even as a kid, even as a young adult, I carried that dark energy with me up until I was 27 years old, to the point where I said, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. When I admitted that I didn't want to be here anymore, I was forced to face my own consciousness. And my consciousness said to me, bro, you've been blaming everybody for your situation but yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Through analyzing my own victim mindset at the time, and dispelling a lot of misconceptions I had about myself and the world around me, I uncovered a mission. My first mission was, oh my God, if I have been depressed this long and I've just started to find this stuff out about myself, my first mission is to address other people that are feeling depressed, feeling like they don't have any value. So through our pain, we can find our mission.
Yeah. I want to say, though, here's the interesting thing that happened to you that you didn't even realize what was happening. When you said, I don't want to be here anymore, your consciousness was saying to you, who is the I that you're talking to?
Correct.
And then you realize, okay, there's a duality here.
Correct. 100% correct. Who is the I? Who? The personality? What are you talking about? The body?
Yes.
Because none of those are who you are.
That's right. Right. So the body didn't want to be here anymore because the brain was telling it a whole bunch of junk. But the spirit was like, but who are you talking to? Talk to me.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And you know what's so interesting about when you said start with a purpose, and just choose anyone, the pessimistic person to say, well, anyone like what? And then you just give them something. They'll say, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, how do you know?
Exactly.
Well, because that doesn't interest me. Okay, so now you realize what does interest you. Now that I gave you something that you're not interested in being your mission, find out why that's not your mission. When you find out why that's not your mission, you're going to find out what is your mission. And they're going to be like, But the thing about it is, Robbie, everybody wants you to give them the blue pill.
Yes.
They don't want to go inside. Like they're swimming on top of water and they don't want to go to the depth of the ocean. No, I don't want to put on all that gear and do all that work and go deep down and find out who I am. I want to stay right up here at the top. I don't even want to snorkel.
You're right. You're right. You are so right. And you know what I realized too, Angie? A lot of people subconsciously feel like, if I step into my power, if I step into my power, I can no longer blame anybody for what I am not becoming and what I'm not living.
Yeah, and you know what? And if I step into my power, I'm now responsible for something bigger than I have been my entire life.
Exactly.
And they don't want to take responsibility because they think they can't maintain it. It's that thing where people are like a newly rich, right? Oh, I got all this money. I'm afraid, what if I lose it? So they're afraid to go attach something new, because if I get there and it feels good, it's going to hurt me if I have to go backwards. But you don't have to go backwards.
You don't.
You can get to know your new self. Robbie,
correct.
One time I was going to Jamaica, and a girlfriend of mine was supposed to go with me. And we had pagers at the time. So I got to on my way to the airport, and she paged me. So I got off the highway. She was in Pennsylvania. I was in Georgia. And I called her on the phone booth because she should have been at the airport too. She said, Ange, I'm not going. And I said, all right, I'll hit you up when I get back. So when I went to Jamaica, it was my first time traveling internationally by myself, and it wasn't on purpose, but it was the best thing because when I got there the next morning, I woke up and I walked all the way to the edge of the ocean at the resort. I walked all the way to the edge of the resort and sat in front of the ocean. And when I sat down, I just started crying, Robbie, because I didn't know who this new person was. I met the old person in the States who was tied to all the habits and the situations and the circumstance. So I didn't know I had a renewed mind and renewed spirit and all that. So therefore, I'm sitting in Jamaica and I start crying because I was like, oh, shoot, I don't even know what I like. I got to get to know you all over again.
Wow. So, Angie, I got to thank you for coming on the podcast, telling people you're such a powerful individual. If anybody wants to work with you, because you do offer a program that helps women step into their full power so they can go from surviving to thriving, where can they contact you?
Absolutely. Well, you can find me on my website. It's angiekearns.com. It's ANGIEKEARNS.com. Or find me on all social media platforms at Prosperity Queen.
Amazing, amazing. Angie, thank you so much for sharing your prosperity with everybody that's listening right now. And for you out there who are feeling like you're unfulfilled, hang around people that are fired up. And that's why I'm hanging out with people like Angie Kearns. She will help you burn away that old mindset and step into your true power. It's Robbie Cornelius. This is Master Yourself, and you can get more of this at webassetgroup.com.